episode of the Youth Cafe podcast. My good name is Isabirye, and today we are going to talk about youth at the front line of climate action. I mean, we are youth, and youthfulness is our business, and we are the leaders of today and not tomorrow. With me here are guests from Uganda, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Thank you, Shalia. My name is Menya Julius. I work with Hope for Life Uganda, and yes, as a young person, as I say that the future is now, not tomorrow. So I work in the project department, and I design more interventions that promote climate change in local communities, especially hard-to-reach areas of Uganda. I'm exceedingly humbled to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Isabirye Enock. I work with an organization based in Uganda, HUSYL Community Initiative, and I can say that I'm happy to be part of this podcast. I work in the projects team. I lead the youth and also coordinate projects in the environmental department as well. Thank you.
Amazing. So, Julius and Enock, when we say youth at the front line, particularly on matters climate action, what do we mean? Like, could you please create for us a picture about that?
Okay, I go first. Youth at the front line is a notion that I think we should discuss more on this platform.
Get close to the
on this platform, right? Yeah, so one of the things that talking in the perspective, also based on the background in Uganda and the communities that I interact with most youth are left out in some of the engagements at high level ends, which we believe that these are some of the engagements where they should be because their impact would be felt and heard. But if we leave them at the grassroots level, yes, I know it is important to start from the grassroots, but how about when we have them at those high-level engagements, the summits, which would produce or give an opportunity to them to be able to talk with the major people that actually influence policies, that also make the policies, the government leaders, that would actually help push these agendas where we would have more youth engaged in climate action.
Well, Enoch, I think I'll just add on Enoch's submission. It's more like, let me just give you a scenario of, I've been working in the community for some years, and one of the key things that young people have been yearning for is the policies, the interventions, the actions of climate change. Young people are not involved, and they ask themselves questions, where are we in terms of, where are our voices? We believe that, youth, like policies are made, are discussed everywhere, and decisions on policy are taken anywhere. So I think for me, young people at the front line of climate change, we mean young people taking lead in actions that promote climate change. But also, I think it should go beyond that. When it comes to policy, young people compose beyond, about 75%. But when it comes to policies based on climate change, young people are called, are invited to meetings, but when it comes to real implementation or passing of these policies, their views are not anchored anywhere. So I think it's a question of how can young people be substantively involved in such policies, because they are nowhere to be seen. So I think for me, it's about a matter of making young people to meaningfully take part in conversations on climate change. It should also go beyond conversations, but also the actions. Young people must take lead of the actions in the community. They must be supported, because we know that, yes, reality can say we lack skills, young people doesn't want to hear, but also I think it's a matter of giving us support, because young people are willing to listen, of this generation. The Gen Zs are willing to listen and to be supported to navigate such spaces.
Absolutely. So, Julius, the young people we're talking about, are they between 18 to 24, or 18 to 35, or 38 to 40, who are young at heart?
I think contextually, like in Africa, I could say young people could go between 15 to 35. Yeah.
15?
Yeah. 15 to 35. I I mean, for the context of climate change that we want to go beyond. But for me, I think climate change, when even you say 15, it is too high and above. So it should be, I think, climate change and information and everything, and evolving into climate change, it should go below to as long as 12 years, 9 years.
Even 9.
Yeah, young people must be ambassadors of climate change. So with the age, maybe the UN could say that 30 and below, but for me, it should go beyond, I think, that 5. Maybe that 5, yeah.
Maybe also to just add on what Julius has said. When we talk about young people, meaning we are also talking about children because they are young people. Yeah, but when we talk about young adults, that's when we start from the age of 19 to 35. And that differs which charter we are subscribing to. The EU defines a young adult as 19 to 30. The African Union will tell you that is 19 to 35. The other charters will go to 19 to 25. So it depends on how we decide to describe who's a young adult, who's a youth, who's a young child, a young person. So the context matters and which kind of group that we are referring to. But also these are determined by the statistics when we consider the age gap. Which population? So you'll find other population that when the age gap of young and old is, narrow, that means they will define a young person as young as possible. But also when we look at the situation or the environment that we live in, and at which level do young people start involving and also engaging in matters that protect their rights, that protect their environment, where they can also give views in stakeholders engagements and all that. Also those things matters. You understand very many years back, you would find someone 19 is still in P7, that is in our Ugandan country, 10 years back. Right now you'll find a child 23, they've graduated. Back then it was literally impossible. So yeah, the more we evolve, this determination also tend to change. So yeah, when we decide to define young person, we can decide to define it as 18 to 30, and as per this project, that's where we are defining the young person. Yeah.
Amazing. So on this question, I'd like you to give an honest opinion. It won't be used against you, I promise. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate the influence of young people in your country and maybe in Africa at large, especially when it comes to policy making?
How do you rate young people in terms of participation?
Their influence.
Their influence?
Yeah.
On a scale of 0 to 10.
With the 0 being the least.
Yeah. I think when it comes to influence policies, I could say we are 3. Yeah, we are 3, 4. Why I say we are 3, 4 is policies are passed and they really don't they don't reflect the voices of young people. Let me give an example. Say in Uganda, at least 70% of people that goes to work every morning are young people. But when policies are passed, I agree they don't resonate to what the majority are speaking to. Another example is about the climate change, forums and platforms that where young people are called. Me myself, I'm working with a youth-led organization and I've navigated these spaces. And believe me, when young people go to these forums, to spaces to attend, firstly, you ask them for feedback. Literally, they say, we are just consulted and we feel that our input were not taken. Secondly, you ask them for report. They could say, this was merely like a meet, eat, and go home. So you see, that's why I say at least on the average of 3%. This 3% is calling young people to go into these meetings, but about how the voices, how our responses are captured, that's also another discussion for another. But for me, I feel that we are missing a lot, especially our voice, our influence in doing this. Sometimes when we go the activism way and want to influence policies, sometimes the set goes against young people. That's why I'm saying that at least our influence is still minimal. and we need to do a lot. All stakeholders need to do a lot, especially supporting young people, to make sure that the voices of the majority are amplified.
In my perspective, somehow I would like to disagree with Julius, but also this is a question back to you as our moderator. Do you want to know the influence of young persons in the country in terms of policies, or active participation, influence with active participation? That's where the question is. But if it's just influence, we look at the population. However much our government is full of old people, I would say, but the pressure is there. They feel the pressure of the young generation. Because when you look at the statistics of our population, 75% persons, that is between the age of 18 to 55, you can imagine. 75%, they didn't even count 30 or 35, they counted 25. That's the gap. To be precise, I think it's actually 66, 25 people compared to the population. So I think from 25 to 35, when you just go by the African Union, that is the 75. So I feel that the influence is there because of the pressure. They know the community or the environment or the people that are going to benefit from all these government initiatives are the young persons. So if their needs and their queries are not related to, that means all interventions that are being done are deemed to be useless to them because they feel they are not heard, their interests are not considered. So yeah, I would give it an 8. But if we ask for positive, if we ask for active participation, then I would agree with Julius. Yeah, the active participation is really low. I'll give it a 3. So that is in my.
Oh, really? In short, you're trying to say the youth are not motivated, like they don't have the self-push.
I would say because we have different categories of youth. We have those that are educated, those that are still in school, and those that are not educated. And the fact that we have also a largest number are those that are not educated. We have those in the slum, those in the rural areas. They don't care much about these things as long as they have what to eat. Those that are educated, that actually are seeing where the world is, that understand the environmental concepts, the climate justice, they would feel concerned. And this is where the problem comes in. Do they have a space where they can articulate or air out their concerns and be heard? Not really. They feel that actually have the opportunity, it's because maybe they are working in the ministries and those are very minimal. So meaning the largest representation is very low. So I feel like, yeah, no, there's no influence.
I think to a certain extent, I agree with Enoch. To a certain extent, I agree with Enoch. Yeah, there is pressure, but of course, a lot is missing, especially, there are some indicators where you look at the society and there are information. Maybe you say, yes, young people are informed about climate change, climate policies, but indicators are real that in terms of policy, young people in Uganda, less of them know even the climate policies that are available. The other thing, one of the key indicators that I see that there is a gap and is about government commitment. If there is that pressure a lot on ground, you could see government coming up with commitments on climate change. Maybe increasing budget for financial years on climate change, maybe to go and sensitize people, because it's the role of the government to do that. But you find that government is relaxed, and yes, I entirely agree there is pressure, but I believe we need to do more. Yeah, I will agree with Enock entirely that everything is okay. We will really sit and say, yeah, I guess there, everything is okay.
Yeah.
So we need much work, although there is some work, but yeah, we need to.
Saying if diplomacy fails,
Yeah.
apply for.
Yeah.
Oh nice. So what could be the solution to that? Like we break down the policies and like.
I think for me, breaking down the policy, there we are skipping some key crucial thing. The first is, I think, one of the key things could be, of course, community. The solutions must be community-led. But at the moment we start discussing policy at this level, I believe that we are skipping some key things. One of the key things is young people volunteering to and deciding to take up initiatives, community-led initiative, that firstly create information to the people, mobilize masses. Even though we localize the policies available, even though we go to young people and tell them this is the policy, as long as we've not localized issues to do with climate change, firstly the language we use is too technical. We should come now to this podcast when we are discussing casually like this, informally like this, and we discuss issues of climate change. But sometimes platforms of climate change discuss technical language with technical terms. People talk of COPs, you're talking of something, you see.
I was even asking guys if you've attended COP or you know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, all those scopes and everything are good, but at what stage are we involving ourselves? For me, I'm a young climate negotiator who believes that issues to do with COP, Uganda should be less concerned about them. Why? First, we need to mobilize and build a mass of people, movements, to know what is happening in terms of climate change before we go to COP. Those are high-level conversations. You know, young people here in the community are facing issues of drought. We are facing flooding and everything. Climate has changed, like the environment has changed, and we are now want to go and negotiate. You know, yes, we could have a certain category of people that we can train to go and negotiate, but not entirely, because I always see when it's time for COP, the whole country is a must with conversations on COP. So I think the one thing we should do is community awareness, but also young people taking up initiative to lead initiatives for themselves. If young people are not taking up initiatives, let us not wait for the Bazungu, for the white people to come and tell us, you have a serious problem here. You know, let us lead our initiatives locally.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because eventually it begins at home.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And now that you people have been in the climate space for quite some time, what are the main barriers that you encounter, especially when it comes to climate action and climate resilience?
In my perspective, it starts with the information, the knowledge. I have a feeling that most people that are actually involved in these climate issues, they don't know that actually they are dealing with the climate issue. There are those that actually are helping solve the climate issues, but they don't know. To them, they look at it as a form of source of income. It's an opportunity to earn a living. Look at those young boys, young children, the single mothers picking plastics, collecting them. They are trying to control waste, which would revert to as waste management. But they are doing it indirectly. For them, they don't know that they are solving an issue. Yeah. And then when we look at the others, those that are involved in deforestation, the youth back in rural areas that look at cutting down tree, burning to make charcoal and sell it after to earn a living to support their families, they look at it as a source of income. Yeah. So the question is, have we done enough sensitization? The government will tell you, yeah, we've done sensitization, but at what level? Which target are you, targeting? The group of people you're targeting matters. The communities. Have we done research to understand, maybe we say Kenya, which county or which area that actually contribute to climate issues? Have we done interventions starting from there? Those are the questions that we should ask ourselves. If we say, in the north they cut down trees, they make charcoal, which is the biggest supplier of charcoal in the country, what have we done in that community to actually let them know that the initiatives they are doing, however much they are helping them sustain their family, in the long run their children will live a miserable life because the climate, the environment they will be living in will be very hard to survive in. So it starts from us, it starts from the grassroots. once we start from the grassroots, we shall handle a lot of problems. Because in my perception, I believe that the elite already know these climate issues. Yeah, they know the climate issues, but now the intervention starts where they might have, when they are doing waste disposal, they have for plastic, for decompose, those that decompose, they do their waste management well. But the contribution, is it significant enough for us to say, okay, we are progressing in terms of addressing these issues? Now, those are the questions we should ask. And now this all relies on the disinvestment of information. Most of these climate advocacy TV adverts on climate issue, they're in English. And the contributors are the grassroots. They don't even know English. So how do you think they are going to get information out of that if you haven't, broken it down to the layman's understanding? Yeah, I know they've tried in a few other advocacy issues, but I have a feeling that we still have a lot to do. And it starts with sharing the knowledge we have, the knowledge that we've gathered, but also understanding where is actually the major issue. How are we doing in this issue? Recently I've seen, because of carbon credits, in Uganda we've started reacting. Kenya is way ahead of us. Yeah? And it is really doing well with carbon credits. I must tell you, I'm following that. But yeah, I'm happy that Uganda, we are jumping onto this. But I love the way that Kenya, it has involved the grassroots people, the villagers that are doing farming, to help them understand that actually they can even earn a living through harvesting these credits by doing the smart agriculture, planting trees, making sure the way they are doing their agriculture, it coexists with the environment. Yeah, you don't need to cut down a forest so that you put their maize. There's a way you can do it that you can have your maize and the trees are thriving. Yeah. Now these are the knowledges that are being shared. So, and I love that the East African Carbon Credit Forum was created, and this one is bringing together all African countries. And yeah, Kenya is way ahead of us, but I believe we have started. I've seen there's a department, a full department that has been designated in the ministry, and this is good progress, but we haven't solved the real issue. However much we have started the journey.
I think, has mentioned the critical thing that I don't want to leave out, the issue of media and elites versus elites. I think Enock, it goes beyond that, but also, for me, I think it's the media bias. Why I say like that, from Monday to Friday, you find that media are running political conversations and ignoring climate conversations. That is something that actually bothers me a lot, that these guys center on politics each and every day, and we have an emerging issue of climate change. And this restricts a certain category of young people that want to disseminate information to the public. Yeah, it is too critical. Then the other issue of support in terms of funding. Young people need, I think in Uganda locally, young people want to start initiating local initiatives like pick, as long as recycling plastics, picking them and even taking them to the industry, to factory. But I mean, the fact that young people even lack transport these plastic from where they are picking them to even to factory or to, it's one of the key challenges that climate change is emerging as a big problem to us. So I think young people also lack support in terms of limited just financial to enable them to do that local community work to contribute to the value chain of making sure that we revamp the climate ecosystem. So I think that is one of the key also barriers to young people.
In defense of Uganda's media, could it be because you guys are nearing elections or something?
No, I think it's beyond that. Even before elections, you rarely see these conversations. I think in 2021, I remember, they were hosting, in Uganda we have one of the common TV show called Barometer. So one of the politicians came and said, I think that time we have floods had happened in eastern Uganda, and we're having a conversation. It's a barometer political conversation. Then one politician say, it's so absurd that whenever we are coming here to discuss political issue, we discuss issues to do with buying voters, issues to do with electoral laws and judicial and everything, and we ignore the pertinent issues of flooding. And he said, today, floods has happened in eastern Uganda, but we were coming here, we are discussing issues of constituency, voters, what and what. We need to wake up and start discussing. I supported her, and whenever I go to forums now, like this one guy, I always talk about that and blame the media, local media in Uganda for that.
Say that.
Yeah.
So Enock, you mentioned something on carbon credits. Could you touch on it a little bit, explain to us what it is about, what do you get? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
For someone who's maybe green in this climate space.
Wow. That's an interesting conversation that you want me to dive in. Unfortunately, I'm also still in the phase of learning a lot more. And actually, part of my coming here in Kenya, I was hoping that I would meet one of the experts that I met before. And she had promised that if I come to Kenya, she would give me a full tour. But unfortunately, our schedules collided. I'm here, she's in Uganda. If this meeting had happened earlier before she was in UK, so we couldn't really have this conversation. But yeah, all I can say, carbon credits, I think is one way that we can encourage our communities, our people, to actually start doing things different way, but also to understand they are addressing an issue on climate change, but they can also gain from it, and it can be a sustainable way to manage their farms. The organization is called Otimwa. It's some, I think, French word. It's still having issues with pronouncing it, but yeah, they are doing an amazing job. They have offices here, and they have offices all over the Eastern Coast, the West America, the Asia. They are doing a lot. They are more like negotiators for carbon credits. They help you harvest those credits, then you bid them on the bigger forums. We know that Dubai is one of the countries that refuse to adhere to the UN body that controls the environment on cutting carbon credit. And what they do is they buy it from other countries that actually are producing more carbon credit. So through that, that's how the local farmers. So this organization, it helps them with farming, training, producing farming materials, seedlings and all that. But in the long run, they are gaining, they are getting their farms, they are getting the best knowledge in their farming methods, they are adopting the smart agriculture methods, but also they are helping reduce the carbon in space by earning carbon credits. And this as a country, Kenya, I'm sure if you search, Kenya is one of the largest contributors of carbon credit in East Africa. So carbon credit is, I think, a fresh thing in East Africa, but the way I see how countries have started picking up this thing, I think it is progressing very well. However, this doesn't mean that we should neglect the other issues that that can easily be managed, like deforestation. At least let's do afforestation, because this is one way we reduce the carbon credits. Also, coming up with policies. When you cut a tree, plant 2 trees. I think that there was a time that movement moved in Uganda, and actually people have taken it on. Once they cut down a tree, they at least plant 2 trees so that they can compensate in the near future. So I wouldn't want to talk a lot about carbon credit because I'm also in the process of learning a lot more about them. But I know it is an interesting topic. Those that are interested, it is a very interesting topic. There are YouTube videos that teach you how you can harvest carbon credit, how you can engage in the space of carbon credit. And usually there's is the forum sit once a year to discuss on issues of carbon credit. But like I said, these forums, they are high level, so to get in there, even me, I think I got a chance because it had just launched. But last year, I tried to get in. The only option I had is to attend online. And when you attend online, your participation is limited. So this is what we've been talking about. Can we also provide spaces for youth to engage in this kind of talks, to understand, so that they can hear people who are experts in this, but also give feedback on their views. Yeah, the notion of carbon credit is on the table, but very few people actually do understand this. They don't understand carbon credits. I'm also here, I'm still researching and trying to understand. So it is a very big topic, and it is something that needs time to understand. That one I assure you. Yeah.
Well, I think I just wanted to just emphasize, I always emphasize that climate change language is very hard. You see, Enock is explaining carbon credit and carbon market. Those are the terms we hear, and I always put them in the quotes because it needs a lot of research to dive deep in them to understand exactly what they are meaning. But I appreciate that such conversations are ongoing, especially on the region. That could be, of course, a bit good, and I appreciate the other way that I think Enock, actually, this shouldn't be like a policy that when you cut tree, you plant two, I don't think so. I think it should be a norm, it should be in our values that when you cut a tree, you plant as many as you can. But when we say that you plant 10, no. And for me, this narrative of let us plant tree, you plant and you forget this tree. I think for me it's plant and make them grow. Plant and make them grow. That means that you're planting, but also you are making a follow-up. Plant and grow tree. Plant and make a follow-up on them. That means try to, whenever maybe it's a dry season, try to irrigate them. Try to follow up, make sure that they are growing. In most cases, why issues of reforestation has failed is that we just plant and ignore. So I think to young people, this is one of the key things that let us plant tree and replant as many as we can. Yeah.
Absolutely. And now that we are youth, and of course we are the change we've been waiting for, and we are the ones to give solutions, are there any innovative ways we can curb climate change? You don't have to overthink. It could be just don't litter around. It could be recycle, reuse.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm going to advocate for the use of renewable energy, because they are, instead of cutting down forests, or instead of changing the water channels to create an irrigation system, instead of building a dam on a waterfall which will affect the flow of the river, and later on bring other climate-related issues like flooding of the banks of the lakes, or even flooding the channel of the river, the communities that are surviving in those areas. One way we can adopt is renewable energy. And when I talk about renewable energy, we have the solar, the sun. We have it in print in Africa. And I think in Africa, I give credit to Nigeria. Nigeria is doing really well. But I also have a feeling it's because of the fact that they don't have a lot of natural resources like dams to create enough power to sustain the communities or the country. Nigeria has power is only available for 6 hours, in some areas 4 hours. The rest of the day we run on generators. So that is really bad, and because of that, the easiest way and the cheapest way they could do it is to adopt solar energy. And you will find that 1 in 2 homes, it has a solar system that can support the whole. This puts less pressure to the government to try to create more dams if they had more resources. Because we know once you create a dam, there are after effects. You may not see them at the moment, but over the years we start seeing them. Yeah. So once we adopt, because of in Uganda, the consumption of solar energy is very low. Meaning, even those that we are training in the TVET centers to acquire knowledge in handling solar energy, they are very few because there is no market. So, to me, the start is to create mini grids. This is through government lobbying and also putting some money aside. I always ask myself, why doesn't most government structures rely on solar energy? They can just put it in their budget and have that. Because trust me, that will reduce. We have, I think, 3 dams now so far in Uganda. And there was one that was opposed because the people in the community rejected it. They said it's going to affect our communities. We're going to spoil our community. You have our river banks flooded. People will get displaced. And they were not lying. There are those, look at Lake Victoria. Those that have been to Uganda, the easiest way I can narrate to you, you go to the beaches, you will see the old trademarks which show that water was almost like 30 yards away. They already immersed in water. And I have a feeling one of the roads in Entebbe in the next year, if we don't handle this issue well, it will be flooded and they will have to create a bridge. Now these are after effects. Now the government will be put on the task to build a bridge. Those are resources that are going to go. You thought that you were solving an issue, but in the long run you were creating more problems. But also, like you said, waste management in our country is very poor. I think 2 years back we had a disaster that left hundreds dead in Stesi because the area where they were dumping this waste finally busted and just, it was like a landslide, just covered the full community that was living there. And people died.
It should be in 2023.
3.
Yeah.
Around 2023. I can't put exact time frame, but if you search Stesi, you'll be able to get Stesi landslide. They dubbed it Stesi landslide. And this is because the government did not listen to the local leaders. They saw it coming. They tried to warn the government. They tried to involve the body that actually will handle this issue. But they didn't listen. And after that, what did it do? It left others dead, people displaced, people lost property. So issues of climate change, they may look minimal, can easily get away from it, but once a calamity comes because of climate change, it is very, very big, and it leaves the country staggering. So yeah, planting trees. The landslides in Bududa is because of the trees, the vegetation on the slopes is not there. That's why the land is loose, and when it rains, it just flows down. As simple as that. Plant trees on the slope. It will control. The things of strong winds, you hear people's roofs are blown off because of no forest. These trees we see becomes like a barrier. By the time the wind comes to your house, it has reduced the speeds and the house can contain it. So simple things can be done, but will solve a lot of problems in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to add on Enock's submission is for me, I appreciate that data tells us that I think, especially in Uganda and most African countries, we are using the traditional, method of energy, that is now firewood, issue to do with charcoal. I think about 90% of most of our countries use. So I think for me, it's to look innovative. It's a call to action that we need to go to appreciate and start, going into the channel of energy transition. We need to transit. That calls for innovations, and I think for us in my community, I have seen some young people doing the gas energy, where they used oil of the motorbike to do cooking, and I think it is working. They are using they used oil of the motorbike to put into the gas stove, and you see it's working. You know, it still has some impact on climate change, but minimal compared to firewood and charcoal. You know, this is when you do fire and charcoal, that is direct. You are directly harming the environment. But at least for this, you're contributing less emission to the environment. Then one of the key things I always ask myself is, especially in Uganda, is why is that importation of an electric car is too expensive than this fuel car. For the government, it takes it as a luxury that someone importing electric car is too rich, but they don't put into the element of the environment. If a car is maybe 100 million, the tax of importing that electric car is 400. It's actually doubles or triples, you know, the cost of that car, electric car. So I think it's also the government should, because now those are innovations that are ongoing globally, that people are now resorting to use electric car than the fuel-used cars. Then, of course, one of the other key innovative things is about briquette making. I think right now young people, especially in Uganda, are resorting to, you know, to do briquette making as a way of a form of energy cooking, in order to reduce the cutting down of trees. But I still emphasize the issue of Enock, of planting trees. I think annually in each year we happen to receive like landslides in eastern part of Uganda, and that is really too bad. And it is because of people have cut down trees and the land is not supported. Yeah.
I think also maybe to add on what Julius has said about electric cars, I love the fact that Ugandans have adopted the use of electric motorbikes. That is a good start. They are cheap, they are assembled within the country. I've seen Spyro, I see this company that is for Uganda, Kia, yeah. It's also centering in innovating. I've seen their buses, they are working on the highway, and this is a good step. The challenge is that the largest consumer is not catered for. I personally, when I wanted to buy my first car, I thought of a hybrid because I knew it will be using both electricity and gasoline, of which it is cheaper because the fully electric cars, my friend, you can't afford it. Even the rich are still staggering. And actually, the fully electric cars that I've seen, you'll see either GIZ, this international organization that have adopted the aspect of climate change and trying to influence, they are buying their top executives electric cars. But also the challenge is in Uganda, the charging ports are very rare. I think we have like 2 or 1. One at GIZ and another one I think around the city center. And whoever has, I've seen one, I think 2, 3 Teslas in Uganda, they have to ferry their car to that place, they charge it, which becomes an inconvenience. It demotivates another person who would have had the hope of buying it over the capacity. So as we venture into this, it is an ecosystem. So we don't just put tariffs that will lower, make it easy for people to actually acquire this, but also put structures in place that will encourage people to actually engage in this. The reason why the electric motorbikes are thriving in Uganda, every after I think 100 kilometers, there's a battery bank where they can swap. They call them battery swaps. Yeah. So I think even for the cars, this is something that we need to look into and adopt. I know it can be costly, but trust me, it will come in handy, and it will help us also reduce on the gas emissions from cars in the city center. When you're in Kampala, it feels different when you go up country, when you go to Entebbe, it is totally different. Yeah, so.
Julius, I'm trying to wrap my head around whatever you said on reusing the motorcycle oil. Are they using it instead of kerosene?
Yeah, instead of no, these are locally gas made. They are locally gas made. You know, this improved one that uses a Shell, Total, Starbucks. For them, they use the reused energy, right? Like oil of the motorbike. It's what they use. You pour in, then the entire process is the same as the other normal gas. So it has even a starter, you know, you can reduce, but it uses the reused oil of the motorbike. It's really too good. I happen to, I even want to buy it actually because I ended with the guy, and yeah, the guy is there and
like it's specifically made for reusing the oil.
Yeah, it's specifically made for reusing the oil. Yeah.
It can't use any other.
No, it uses that oil gas. Yeah, that is you know, I think the intention was to reduce because it is even cheap. The intention was to reduce and maximize the tree cutting for charcoal and everything, because in that community where they are inventing it, they have been cutting a lot of trees, and I think that the environment has changed rapidly. That's why they are trying to adopt using indigenous way of adopting to climate change, but also maybe adopting local ways of reducing cutting deforestation. Yeah, but also I think there is another innovation in agriculture that I have seen. It is normally, because I received this training with some fellows in agriculture. It was conducted by Innovation Village last year. They did a hackathon, but they were supporting initiatives in agriculture that are of course are promoting smart agriculture that Enock was talking about. We did this hackathon, and I saw young people in agriculture, in marketing, trying to to present their ideas, and they were funded. And yeah, they were mainly targeting rural areas, and it worked. It was a collaboration between, I think, Innovation Village and Stanbic Bank, then plus youth organizations. It worked, and I think like 5 initiatives were funded, and they are doing amazing work. Yeah.
And what's the name of that gas for oil?
I can't tell. I don't think they have a label, but I think
Julius.
I don't think they have a label. You know, these are locally made solutions.
Really?
These are locally made solutions. But when I get back, I think I'll have to get the photos, everything, and I didn't like, there was no label, there are no words, but I will get the pictures of it. Yeah.
So please share the pictures.
I will definitely.
Maybe just to it's a good innovation, but me, I think it is to help reduce on the emission, because remember, gasoline releases a lot of emissions, so reusable would also, but then it is weighed out, so I think the emission is not as much as concentrated as the one of gasoline, because it's pure. But also, I think this is, for me, I would see it in the perspective of waste management of oil, because remember, oil really messes up our environment. Look at places where they repair cars, bikes. When you go to that soil, it will take it like 20 years to recover.
Sure.
So to me, I'd look at it as a way to handle waste management of oil. Instead of pouring it, you can reuse it, burn it, because the effects are lesser than the one you've poured on the ground or in a lake. So yeah, but also I think in this perspective, we should look at initiatives around the cooking stove. There are those cooking stoves that you use solar energy and actually can generate energy at the same time. Yeah, I've seen them a lot in Uganda. I think there's one organization I know that is spearheading that initiative. I was trying to get it here, but my internet is a bit slow.
Sure. Or is this because they didn't pay you to market them?
No, not marketing. Me, when it comes to climate issues, I try to involve, and they might talk about it. It's not a marketing strategy. I'm just trying to make sure people are aware of these solutions. In our line of work or field, we shouldn't look at this as a way of marketing. We should look at it as a way of sharing information. Those that actually were looking for this information, they don't know where to get it. this could be an opportunity that they land on it and they engage with these people. So to me, it is not marketing, but yeah, they did pay me to market it.
After beating around the corner, now you've spoken your heart.
Yeah, that's why I'm just trying that. I'm just pitching for this solution because it's a good innovation, and I think it is worth sharing. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And you also said something on having low consumption of solar systems in rural areas or something. Is it because of affordability?
Yeah, largely it relies on affordability, but also the one that are being consumed are self-setup. Like you buy it, you've heard of M-Copper?
Yeah.
When you bought M-Copper, you didn't need the knowledge of being a technician. You just needed to know where to fix each pin. And there was a map. Even a layman could easily do it. But if you want to expand on this consumption of solar energy, we need to create systems. The new solar system technology is amazing. Yeah. So for you to be able to do it right, you need to have a technician who's going to quantify the data for you, understand the consumption of energy in your household, so that they can design a system specifically that will meet your needs. I know they always say they put in a reserve in case you decide to expand in terms of appliances and energy consumption. But all this is one way we create opportunities for those that have actually taken a step to acquire this knowledge, but also it's one way that we get to utilize a natural resource that is free. No one that will ever come and encroach at it and put a layer that you need to first pay, then they open and you get the sun. It's a natural resource. This is a resource that no one will ever have control over it, apart from God if he decides to say they won't be sun no more. Yeah. But yeah, I think in East Africa, I know generally in East Africa we are doing bad when it comes to consumption of solar energy.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think this calls upon our countries or stakeholders. I know some of the departments in renewable energy and environment, minerals, are trying hard to make sure they push the agenda. I like what Shell did. I'm not marketing for Shell, but I've been told, I don't know about Shell here in Kenya, but in Uganda, wherever you see Shell, they have a backup system for solar energy that runs to reduce the consumption of electricity, but also to reduce on the use of gasoline, because when power goes, they have generators. So there's another thing I saw, like in Nigeria, most big companies, they incorporate solar energy with their gasoline system. They cannot fully do away with it because for a company like, I would say, that makes this water, to have a system, they might need to have like an acre of coverage, which they may not have because most of them are within the city center. So if they can use the available roof to harvest solar energy and use it as an accompaniment to the one that they have, I think that is a step closer to actually mitigating some of these issues. So that is the advocacy I can make right now.
Yeah. Now, looking at the intersection of health and environment, are there ways you could say climate change affects the youth, let's say physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
Yeah, very much, very much.
I think for me, I was born in a region that of course struggles a lot with the issues to do with health, especially young people, more specifically to do with girls struggling to pass through their menstruation period. This is something because I ran a program that was trying to create a nexus between health, sexual reproductive health, and climate, and I found out a lot of issues. One of the key things that I found out was young girls in Busoga specifically struggle struggle because they use the traditional methods. That is the reusable sanitary pads. So when the environment reacts and it's a period of rain, that means it will affect their pads. They will take long to dry, and most of them, it has been an issue actually, leading to around 60% of girls actually dropping out of school due to failure to manage menstruation. And climate is part of the key issues that, when it is a period of rain, it is very hard for these young people to stay in school when they're in their menstruation period, just because it is very hard for the pads to get dry so that they can use it effectively. It has been one of the key issues that actually has led to school dropout. The other key issues, of course, comes with the diseases. That, let me give an example of the Kampala slums in Kampala. When it rains, everything becomes like the drainage systems too poor because people keep on dumping plastic everywhere. They keep on dumping. I think for us it's like behavior that people don't mind that I'm dumping this plastic, I'm dumping this cloth, this person back here. So when it rains, it usually the spread of diseases is at a high rate because the poor disposal of this plastic to the environment. So I think it has been one of the key things and a public concern, though I think government has given it a low priority to discuss it and also as a concern, because ideally that needs public health awareness and sensitization, but it is lacking a lot. So yeah, there is serious impact of climate change on health.
I think in my perspective, I wouldn't really blame the rainy season on having girls taking their pads long to dry. Yeah, it may affect them, but we shouldn't make it an issue. But also, this means that when we are engaging these girls, do we give them enough? In times like this, can they survive? If a pad takes 4 days, do they have enough to go over the other days? So it is more of an advocacy issue in terms of those that are engaging. Could you give them enough so that they can sustain themselves and take care of themselves during these periods? But also the other effect is, I think it's human related. Now the slums, because in the right way you have to have an approved plan before you construct, which is totally different from the slums. For them, they just wake up a day and they. But this is understandably considerate because they don't have the resources to do that. And with the corruption, I won't shy away on saying this, having your plan approved, even as the elite, you have all the knowledge and the information, but you go ahead to bribe. What message are you sending to the poor person? Just build your house. After all, the money you're going to spend in building can help you finish probably a foundation. In villages, people build houses for 2 million. If you go to the physical plan, I want maybe like 500. That is almost almost 25% of the cost gone. I don't think it is viable. But the bottom line is that the effect of climate change on our health and the health of the youth is equally contributed to by us, the human that live within this community. Take an example, you burn down the trees, meaning you're polluting that environment. If you've been having fresh air, it is no longer going to be as fresh as it was. And remember, these trees help us sieve the air we breathe in. We've seen, physically I haven't seen them, but I watch a lot of documentaries. People in the desert. You see how they cover themselves. It's not a style. It's because it's way of survival for them. Because the air they breathe in is too polluted, they need to have a thick layer through their nose and mouth so that they at least be able to breathe in fresh air without dust. So if you cut down a tree that would have sieved your air. By the time it reaches you, it has low content of the dust. I know biologically the nose has a way to clears that air, and that's why we always have to clean our nose, yeah, to remove that dry, that is all, I should say, is garbage from which has been cleaned through the breathing system. But also, for the other thing, because of we cut down trees to make charcoal and firewood, we understand that it was recently discovered that women suffer from lung cancer lately in Africa because of use of charcoal. They are always in the kitchen cooking compared to men. So part of the contribution, because you find a woman who has not been smoking, he has lung cancer like a person who is smoking. It is because of the charcoal they use in their kitchens and firewood. So it is a climate issue, but largely contributed to by the human. Yeah. So some other things we can do to them out. There are those that it is so cold, it affects their breathing systems. These are natural things. So I highly believe that most of the illnesses that come as a result of climate change are contributed to by us ourselves. So this is why we are here to advocate. Yeah.
I think like the other, I think 2 weeks ago I was in Enock hospital and I happened to pass through the cancer institute, cancer department, and I was there like 2 years ago, but I couldn't see the number that I saw 2 weeks ago, and majorly they were suffering from skin cancer and lung cancer, and it was too bad for me, and I tried to go and interact with one of the service provider, like healthcare provider that was taking care of them, and saying that periods are evolving and climate change is affecting people, and mostly these are some of the impacts of climate change, like the skin diseases, Enock mentioned about lung cancer, and I think it was a concern to me to further continue to strengthen my advocacy and to go into community and tell people about this, because it's a serious issue. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about media before, and I'm just curious, how can youth leverage social media, especially when it comes to climate action and climate-related issues?
Social media is a powerful tool that we use for any form of advocacy. So I think the youth should use it to do a lot of awareness. Those that have been privileged to access this information, but also to analyze and break down properly. For example, we have TikTok. A lot of youths are on this platform, and it is very effective for moving information. So it is one way we can engage those that have the ability to move this information. We give them this knowledge so that they can use it in their conversation, their daily thing. They may be having their normal TikTok lives, but at least if they mention things, 1 or 2 about climate change, that is an achievement. Before you know it, someone will start asking questions and trying to know, understand more. I just mentioned about carbon credit and he picked interest in it. How many do you think will pick interest in it? The only challenge is that I'm not very much equipped right now to share more about it. The knowledge I have is still minimal, and the only thing I can use it is to share so that those who pick interest, they can go through the subject and going through do research. So once we share information, once we get information, the other thing that comes to our mind, I want to know more about this. So the next thing you do, you start doing research. So we are trying to trigger those that have interest to do actual research. There are those that don't have interest in research. So these that do research will be the one actually taking those that are not interested. Probably they are just the top So I strongly believe that social media is a key platform for engagement on issues of climate change, and it can actually help us achieve way much in terms of impact, in terms of knowledge sharing, in terms of info sharing. So I think it is very important, yeah.
I think to add on that, Enock and Chili, I think I use more Twitter, X, and I normally see conversations on politics, but rarely see conversations to do with climate change, especially, leaving out discussions internally, like as a country, as Uganda, but I always see young people in the region coming out together and holding Twitter spaces discussing issues of democracy, issues of politics. But why not climate? I mean, why shouldn't we hold a conversation that have people from Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania discussing this? Let me take an example. When there is an arrest in maybe a political activist has been arrested, maybe in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Uganda, all of us go with the Twitter hash, free this, free Julius, free Enock, free Enock. But when there is an issue of, say, flooding, drought, we don't make this news go viral so that we can even compare that, hey, Chile, in Kenya there is something, also in Uganda. What can we do? Can we design mechanisms? Can we have best practices on how we can go and reach out to people about this, you see, creating awareness? So I think social media as a tool, we should use it to communicate, but also to connect young people in the region and have these conversations normally. Then the other issue is about the media. I will not leave it because media bias, and I could call for media dialogue. I don't see radio talk shows talking about climate change. This could even be good, that because radios are stationed, decentralized in regions, why can't media call young people to discuss issues to do with climate in local language, localize this information? Enock is here, being informed about climate change. We should accept that we should make them busy to go and give out this information to the community. So I think for me, it's just a call to action that the media should start involving young people in these discussions, give them freer time, but also a call to government. I think give free airtime to activists of climate change to go and speak. By them only giving out political programs to people to go and talk. Let us also make climate change as a priority and give it a free airtime to young people to go and disseminate information on climate change. Yeah.
As you two were speaking, I was just thinking to myself, how can we make the climate content interesting? Just the way for democracy politics are so fun. Should we start singing, or maybe, I don't know, on TikTok? So that
I think for me, I'm someone who believe that we should start integrating art in issues of climate change. If we do music, if we do poem, that kind of creative art, I think it speaks a lot. Yes, young people, I believe that we don't have time. Like now, here we've held a conversation for 1 hour, and young people say, hey, this is just, but it's really informative. And we seem that young people have no time. My issue is, when we make a podcast like this, we could even cut it. When you see there is a point, cut it, share it online. That is creativity, in spreading the information. If you see there is a point you love, cut it and share it. That is how we could really do. I know we don't have time. We have a lot of things to do as young people, but we should just try to integrate art in all what we do in issues of climate change.
Absolutely. So as we wind up, could you tell a young person somewhere, seated somewhere, watching you or listening to you, and they want to venture into the climate space, what would you tell?
Yeah, to all the young persons.
Face the camera directly. You talk to them directly.
To all the young persons out there, Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, even the other African countries that are not part of the Youth Camp project, which is Youth Climate Action Network, funded by European Union. This is an opportunity that you can get engaged. We are here for 3 years. Who knows what will happen after 3 years? The climate justice space is still fertile. And in this I mean that it is an area that you can get involved in and make an impact and you see results. But also there are a lot of opportunities, exposure, and also a lot of learning in this field. So for those that are interested, those that are not interested, you're missing out. And shouldn't be on those who is interested, who is not interested. This is a matter that targets or speaks to us all as youths, because we are the future of this generation. If we do not protect our environment, where are we going to live the next decades or a century from now? Yeah, you myself, by that time I'll be dead, but you have your children, your great-grandchildren. We should put, if for you think you'll be dead, at least think about your great-great-grandchildren. Will they enjoy this space as you do at the moment? I think that's the question we should ask ourselves. If no, then we still have a lot of work to do, you and I. So my message to you, the time is now. Let's advocate for climate change. Climate change, climate justice is the way to go. And without it, all these other advocacy issues, we won't have space to do them. Thank you.
I think for me, I just have a simple question to someone listening to me, to a young person, that how would we do it when you are not part of it? That is a pertinent question that should be answered by all of us. In that, in most cases, we young people sit there and feel, firstly, I don't have money, I don't have skills and everything. But climate change is as simple as this. I'm just giving a scenario of this. You see here, this is a bottle. This is a plastic that that was tagged on it. But you see, when you just throw this, and this is a norm. Like now, for case of Uganda and Kenya, our bottle company sells it like this. They always have this, and this affects the environment. But at least, why I say that every action we do, every minimum action we do on climate matters a lot. The best practice for you to use this as an environmental defender activist. When you remove this, it's as simple as package it here. Simple as this. Like you package it here like this, such that when you throw it for reusable, someone picks this and also picks this at least there. But you see, when you remove this, you throw, then you are giving a double work for the person who will pick this to take it for reusable. So it's as simple as that. Every action you do matters a lot, and it is time for us to start. Let us not wait for tomorrow. Let us not wait for generations. Our kids will ask us when we are countered by catastrophes. We cannot even explain, like what's happening in Europe. Hurricanes happen and they even don't explain. They have heavy names on them. So I think it's too simple for us to start doing actions that we can, so that we avoid those terminologies of hurricanes, of this is wind, something like that. So to a young person there is hope. Let us join hands and we push for climate justice in the region. Thank you so much. I want to thank Youth Cafe and comrades here for joining us in this informal conversation. The partners of our Youth Can project, HUSYL, Hope for Life Uganda, Gaia, and Mondus for really supporting us and bringing us such safe spaces for us to have these conversations. We thank you so much, and Youth Cafe, thanks for hosting us. We hope for more conversations, and we hope that these conversations will be replicated in our communities. It's as having this and going back to our communities and localize these conversations and making them real. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. How do you say thank you in Luganda?
So in my language we say
Webaleino.
Wabeleino.
Yeah, Webaleino. Asante sana.
Wabeleino.
Yeah.
Okay. So Enock and Julius, Wabeleino so much. Thank you for heeding to our call and for contributing to these conversations, and we hope that will actually bring the change we're looking forward to. until the next one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
It's amazing. Did you take a peek?
No.
Yeah. I need evidence.
Yeah.